I'm sitting here in my basement full of books. I have enough physical books to keep me reading for at least a decade, maybe longer. So, what are my opinions on digital e readers? Hello, welcome to my channel. Another bibliophile reads. My name is Greg, and today I am doing a tag that I have done before. This morning I saw the channel Bookless Pete. He did the e-reader tag. This tag is about 2 years old. It originally came from the channel from Micah Cummings, and I was one of the people originally tagged in his video, and I did a version of that tag. But he redid the tag this morning, wondering if people's opinions have changed on e-reading. I'm not sure my opinion has changed that much, but I am a big proponent of e-reading, and I thought, why not do this tag again to introduce some of my new subscribers or new viewers to my opinions of e-reading, and I'll go forth and do this tag. There are 8 prompts. Prompt number 1. What was the first e-reader you ever owned? What was your reason for getting one? Were you a reluctant convert or an eager one? Now, I am probably one of the oldest users of e-readers and digital files of books on YouTube. I don't know anyone who has been reading digital books as long as I have. And to be technical, the first digital e-reader I owned was a CD that you plugged into your Windows computer. It was simply Project Gutenberg files that you read. I was not really aware of Project Gutenberg at the time, or maybe I was, but this CD had a lot of those old public domain files. A number of years later, probably about 2, I purchased my first official e-reader. It was a compact PDA. I will put up a picture of what this compact PDA looked like. I'm not sure if this is the exact edition that I owned. I don't remember what I owned, but it's pretty darn close. And it was basically a portable Windows device. And they had this app, what they called it, a program back then called Microsoft Reader, and you could purchase new books for your Microsoft Reader. Microsoft Reader was the 600-pound gorilla back in the day before Kindle came along. And I used that e-reader for a number of years. Slowly, I stopped using that compact e-reader. And then for about a whole year, I believe that was in 2007, I just stopped using it. Then along came the original Kindle. And I bought one of the first editions pretty darn close to the beginning. And I absolutely loved my original Kindle. So you could say I was an absolute eager user because it helped. Now, when I was using that compact PDA, I used to carry a fanny pack around with me everywhere, and I stuck my PDA in because at the time I was a lot younger. My wife and I used to like to go out to dinner, and after dinner, she liked to go shopping. I did not like to go shopping. So what she did was she picked a store that she wanted to shop in. She set me out on a bench nearby, and I pulled out my PDA from my fanny pack, and I was just happily reading. She could shop as long as she wanted to. We called that PDA the marriage saver because it stopped me from complaining, tugging at her sleeve saying, "Are you done yet? Are you done yet? Let's go home." She got to shop as long as she wanted to, and I got to read while she was shopping. It was a win-win situation. Prompt number 2. What e-reader do you use now? What e-readers do you own? I am going to show you this one that I don't use anymore. This is just a Android tablet that has the Kindle app on it. It has some other e-reading apps on it, but I have not picked up this device in probably 7 months, maybe 8 months, and the battery is totally dead. It is just sitting on my shelf, taking up useless space. Will I ever use it again? I very much doubt I will. I do have two main Kindles that I use right now. This is the Kindle Paperwhite Color Soft, or I should say, it's just the Kindle Color Soft. This is a portable Kindle device. I use this when I'm on travel, going on trips, going to the car dealer to wait for my oil change, that sort of thing. I don't really like the color screen. I used to own just a regular Kindle Paperwhite, and I thought that was much better than this Kindle Soft. Now, don't get me wrong, this Kindle Color Soft does everything a Kindle is supposed to do. I can read my books just fine. The battery life is not as good as the Paperwhite, so I don't actually use it inside that much. Occasionally, when I want a smaller device, I do pick it up and read on it, but it is my secondary device. The main device I use for reading at home is the Kindle Scribe. I really like this larger formatted screen. You can get a whole lot of text on the screen, and you can use a larger font. My eyes are aging, and I do appreciate larger fonts. Now, the problem is, or one of the problems, is when you get to a smaller screen like this Color Soft and you try to use the larger font. Sometimes it does not look very good on the screen. You don't get a whole lot of words there. And when I say don't look good on the screen, if you increase the font to a certain size, it's automatically going to shift the lines on the text to what this is called as ragged right, where the right margins are uneven. I really do not like ragged right margins. So on this Color Soft, I have to keep the font just a little smaller than my preference of what I would normally use when I'm reading on my Kindle Scribe. Now, this Kindle Scribe has a lot of other features. It has this pen. You can write on the screen. You can take notes. But I am not a note taker by nature. So I don't use this pen a whole lot. There is a feature where you have sort of these notebooks inside. And for a while, when this Kindle Scribe was new, I was taking notes to myself, a to-do list, that sort of thing. But nowadays, I hardly ever take the pen out of its holder. I just read on that Scribe, and I really do enjoy it. Prompt number 3. Do you read digitally on multiple devices or always on the same device? If you use multiple, how do you decide which one to use? I think I've actually just answered that one. The only other device which I may use occasionally is my iPhone. It does have the Kindle app on there, and my iPhone goes with me basically everywhere I go, but I very rarely use that iPhone for e-reading. Prompt number 4. Do you still read physical books? If so, how do you decide which format to read a certain book in? Well, if the book is older, of course, I'm going to go back to my physical collection. If I own the physical book and the Kindle book is really dirt cheap, I will sometimes purchase that Kindle book just for the ease of reading on the Kindle, because reading on a Kindle is actually a lot easier than a physical book, especially if the physical book is a large one. I know I read Stephen King's It earlier in this year. That is about 1,200 pages, depending on the paperback. And I read it on my Kindle because you don't notice the size of the book on the Kindle. And holding it is much easier. Also, I do prefer certain editions from some publishers. You will notice behind me, I have the NYRB Classics line. And while I do own some of them in the Kindle format, I really do like collecting those as physical books and having them on my shelf. So for that publisher, I will choose the paperback. For new books, I will almost certainly go for Kindle or audio. Now, if it's a new novel, again, it will be Kindle or audio. I don't really need to own the physical paperback or hardcover anymore, unless it's a special collectible book or an author that I'm especially interested in. There is an author, William T. Vollmann. I have all of his hardcovers on my shelf, and all but two of them are signed. He is publishing a 4-volume novel in March of 2026. And yes, I will be buying the physical copy of that book because I collect his books. But earlier or later this year, I'm going to be reading 2 new novels. One is Thomas Pynchon, Shadowcatcher or Shadow Ticket, and then Queen Esther by John Irving. I do have a number of Thomas Pynchon books on my shelf. No, they are not signed. No one has a signed Thomas Pynchon, but I may buy the hardcover for that particular book just to stick it on my shelf with my other Thomas Pynchon books. For the John Irving book, I am almost certainly going to be buying the Kindle version because there will be a group read of the new John Irving book sometime in December. So I do have to buy the book new. Prompt number 5. What is something you dislike about reading ebooks? I really dislike ragged write formatting. There are some publishers out there who hard code their ebooks to deliver ragged write all the time. There is a feature on the Kindle where the reader gets to choose whether you have justified text or ragged write text. I think that is the correct solution because there are some people out there who actually do like ragged write formatting. I do not. But these publishers, they hard code that ragged write book or ragged write format into their book, so I can't change it. I do not like that. Bad, naughty, wicked, evil publishers who hard code ragged write formatting. I also do not like it when ebooks get their covers updated, especially when they're updated to movie covers. I'm not a big fan of Hollywood adaptations or any sort of adaptation, but if you purchase a book and a few years later they adapt it into a movie, they will change it into a movie edition cover. I do not like that. Despite what you may hear, there is no solid, concrete, provable evidence that the text within ebooks are being updated to whatever the publisher wants. Some people claim that publishers are bolderizing texts of books that you previously purchased, and you get that new version on your Kindle. I have not found that to be true. That seems to me just to be an internet rumor. But if publishers were to go down that route, I would be quite upset. What publishers do is correct typos and other mistakes in formatting or other errors you may find in a Kindle book when it was first released. That is perfectly acceptable. And that's actually a very good feature for e-readers and e-books, is that if there is a mistake, the publisher can silently correct it if it's a minor mistake, not this bolderizing of text or changing the content of the book. Minor changes, that's what's good. Number 6, would you ever ditch physical books completely and become a sole ebook reader? If yes, why? If not, why not? Well, I think I've actually kind of answered that a little bit. If the book is new, I'm probably going to stick strictly with the Kindle or other e-reader. If the book is older or out of print, if it's a pulp cover, I'm going to stick with the physical book. I will not give up my old pulpy paperbacks until I absolutely have to. There may become a day when my eyesight grows so weary that these old books, I just won't be able to read them anymore. So yes, I would have to give them up in that case, but as long as I can read the physical book, I'm going to be keeping some of them around because I do like having my basement full of books. I really do enjoy holding a physical book. But the pragmatic part of me understands that reading on an e-reader is much more practical. So going forward, as I said, new books, e-format, older formats, physical. I hope that makes sense. Prompt number 7. Where do you get your ebooks? Kindle store, library loans, third-party websites. I get almost all of my Kindle books from the Amazon store because those are the formats that work with it. I do get some older, out of print, public domain books from other sources. Standardebooks.org is an absolutely great location to get your public domain books. They put a lot of thought, a lot of editing into their text and their formatting, and they just look sharp on the Kindle screen. If you go to Project Gutenberg, where almost all of their books are sourced from, you're going to get some little bit of wonky formatting. It's not going to look good on the Kindle screen unless you're very tolerant of block style formatting, ragged right, that kind of thing. So standardebooks.org is a great place for your public domain titles. Unfortunately, they're rather limited in their selection. They don't have as much as Project Gutenberg, but if you want a public domain book, absolutely check out standardebooks.org first before going to Project Gutenberg. And once you download your download your standard ebook, you can send it to your Kindle. You may also be able to sideload it with a cable. The format that Standard eBooks uses is an older Kindle format that I don't believe is compatible with the newer editions of Kindle. But sending it to your Kindle via your iPhone or Android phone is super easy. I also get a lot of ebooks from Libby.org. That is my library. And what's really good about Libby.org is I can have multiple libraries in Libby saying, where do I want to get this ebook from? That's really beneficial because maybe your local library has all the ebooks checked out and you have a waiting list. But you go to one of your other libraries, lo and behold, they have a copy available, and you can just source it from that different library. As I said, right now, I have 4 libraries on Libby, and I use all of them some of the time. I use 2 primarily, but it's very good to have these backups. I can also add more libraries as I want to. There's no limit, so far as I know, to the number of libraries you can have on Libby. It's just how many libraries can you sign up for? Another piece of advice is if you have a library card from a location you used to live in, they don't expire as far as I know. So if you lived in, let's say, Washington State and had a Washington State library card from Seattle, you can use that for digital loans for a long time. I have not lived in Seattle for about 4 years, but my library cards are still going strong. There are some libraries you can pay for membership all across the country. They are sort of cracking down on that, as far as I know, that I guess libraries are getting their budgets cut. And even though you're paying a little bit to join their library, they are restricting access, which is unfortunate. Support your local libraries all across the country. Libraries are really essential and important for all citizens, in my humble opinion. And as for third-party websites, I used to buy a lot of third-party books back in the early days of Kindle, especially before Kindle when I was using my compact PDA. They were almost all third-party websites. But nowadays, I just don't know that many. And to be honest, I'll just usually buy it from Amazon because they usually have a good price or the best price. And buying from a third-party website is a little more troublesome, a little more expensive. The only way I would do that is if an independent author was selling his or her books on their website and was giving me a special pitch to buy from their site so they could earn a little more money. In that case, yeah, I might download it to my laptop and sideload it onto my Kindle just to be nice to the author. Although I will say is I don't read a whole lot of independent authors, but if there was an independent author that I really liked, I would maybe buy from their website. that is always an option. Prompt number 8, tag some fellow booktubers. I'm not going to mention any on screen because this is a rather old tag and a lot of people have probably done this already. A lot of them may not be interested in redoing it or revisiting it, but I will tag a few in the description of this video. Thank you so much for watching and keep on reading.